The illusion of being lost. At some point in life, almost everyone believes they are lost. Lost in direction, lost in purpose, lost in themselves. But what if that feeling was never loss? What if it was transition? Carl Jung believed that the psyche does not move in straight lines. Growth happens in spirals, periods of clarity followed by confusion, followed again by deeper understanding. So when life stops making sense, the mind panics. It says, "I'm behind, I failed, I missed my path." But the soul says something different. It says, "You are shedding what no longer fits." Being lost is often just the mind realizing that the old map no longer works. And that moment is not the end, it is the beginning. Why old versions must fade. You didn't randomly lose your way. You outgrew it. The person you once were served a purpose. They helped you survive. They helped you adapt. But growth demands release. Jung believed that holding on to outdated identities suffocates the self. When an old version begins to fade, the ego resists. It clings to familiarity. It fears uncertainty. It calls transformation failure. But nothing is wrong. You are not breaking down, you are breaking open. And that always feels like loss before it feels like expansion. The space between who you were and who you're becoming. The most uncomfortable space is the in-between. You no longer identify with your old life, but you don't yet recognize the new one. This space feels empty, directionless, unstable. Jung described this as the liminal phase, where the ego dissolves and the deeper self prepares to emerge. Nothing feels solid here, but this space is sacred, because it is where authenticity is rebuilt. The mind wants answers, the soul wants patience, and patience feels like being lost. Why resistance makes the journey harder? Most suffering doesn't come from change. It comes from resisting change. You try to force clarity. You rush decisions. You attach to anything that feels certain. But forcing identity creates distortion. Jung warned that premature certainty creates false selves. When you stop fighting the uncertainty, something softens. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What is trying to emerge?" That shift changes everything. Becoming without forcing. Becoming is not an action, it is a process. You don't decide who you become, you allow it. You begin listening instead of rushing, feeling instead of controlling, observing instead of judging. Small truths surface. You notice what drains you, what energizes you, what feels honest. Jung called this alignment with the self, when life unfolds from inner truth instead of outer pressure. And slowly, direction returns, not as a loud plan, but as a quiet knowing. The peace of realizing you were becoming all along. One day, you look back and realize something important. You were never lost. You were becoming someone more honest, more grounded, more real. The confusion had meaning. The emptiness had purpose. The waiting had wisdom. Life didn't abandon you, it reshaped you. You stop chasing certainty. You stop fearing uncertainty. Because you trust the process now. And that trust brings peace. Not because you know everything, but because you know yourself. You were never lost. You were becoming. The illusion of being lost. At some point in life, almost everyone believes they are lost. Lost in direction, lost in purpose, lost in themselves. But what if that feeling was never loss? what if it was transition? Carl Jung believed that the psyche does not move in straight lines. Growth happens in spirals, periods of clarity followed by confusion, followed again by deeper understanding. So when life stops making sense, the mind panics. It says, "I'm behind, I failed, I missed my path." But the soul says something different. It says, "You are shedding what no longer fits." Being lost is often just the mind realizing that the old map no longer works. And that moment is not the end, it is the beginning.